Review: Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 2024. Plot: after a family tragedy, Lydia Deetz, now an adult and a mother, sees her life turned upside down when her teenage daughter, Astrid, clashes with her and rekindles a connection with the afterlife. This is when the chaotic and irreverent Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton, makes his comeback, bringing humor, mayhem, and even bigger problems. Between family drama, bizarre new afterlife figures, and the ghosts of the past, the film blends dark comedy, nostalgia, and a touch of drama. Strengths: striking visual atmosphere. Tim Burton revives his signature gothic, exaggerated, and handcrafted style with plenty of practical effects and creative set designs. Michael Keaton in top form. The actor brings back Beetlejuice with the same chaotic and hilarious energy as in 1988. Danny Elfman's score mixes classic themes with new arrangements, keeping the eccentric spirit of the original. Well-measured nostalgia. References to the first movie please fans without feeling like pure repetition. Jenna Ortega. Even though her arc is shallow, she brings freshness and energy as Astrid, bridging a new generation with Burton's universe. Weaknesses: overstuffed script. Too many subplots compete with each other, leaving the story unfocused. Underdeveloped characters. Lydia's emotional arc is thin, and Astrid lacks strong motivation. New characters feel out of place. Despite being charismatic, Monica Bellucci and Willem Dafoe's roles are underutilized. Unstable balance between humor and emotion. Tries to be heartfelt but loses impact by splitting into too many directions. Lack of boldness. While fun, the film doesn't reinvent its legacy, stuck somewhere between nostalgia and attempted innovation. Fun facts: Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 2024. Practical effects are back. Tim Burton and Michael Keaton insisted that most of the effects should be practical to preserve the handmade charm of the original. Keaton even said that he would not agree to return if there was too much CGI. A good example is the shrunken head characters created with puppetry and animatronics. Return to the original filming location. The movie was shot in the same location as the first Beetlejuice. Fans from the area visited the set, bringing old autographed photos of Burton. Casting and special appearances. Michael Keaton only agreed to come back if the film maintained the spirit of the original. Winona Ryder had already requested years earlier that if Beetlejuice 2 ever happened, her schedule should be adjusted so she could join. Danny DeVito makes a cameo appearance as a janitor from the afterlife. A script with fresh eyes. Tim Burton avoided rewatching the first film and refused to use old script drafts. He wanted the sequel to feel completely new, without recycling discarded ideas. Character and design details. Catherine O'Hara, Delia, returned with wilder, bright red hair. 6 custom wigs were made to highlight the character's eccentricity. The iconic Deetz Maitland house was rebuilt and decorated in black tones, blending Victorian mourning aesthetics with Delia's extravagant style. Easter eggs and references. There's a scene where Astrid briefly looks at the Dirt album by Alice in Chains, a nod to grunge. The film features a musical number to MacArthur Park as a tribute to the iconic Day-O scene from the first movie, but without replicating it. A new version of Day-O, the Banana Boat song, appears on the soundtrack and in the trailer. Hidden voices and surprises. Tim Burton himself provides the voice of baby Beetlejuice, one of the rare times he included himself directly in one of his films. Tributes and absences. The funeral scene features Day-O as a tribute to actor Glenn Shadix, Otho, who had requested the song for his own funeral. Alec Baldwin and Geena Davis did not return as the Maitlands. Their absence is explained in the film by saying they moved on in the afterlife. Lessons from Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 2024. 1. The past always finds a way back. The return of Beetlejuice shows that ghosts, literal or metaphorical, never truly disappear. They resurface when we fail to deal with them. 2. Family is complicated but essential. Despite the arguments, the relationship between Lydia and her daughter Astrid shows that family bonds are stronger than conflicts. 3. Grief can be faced with humor. The film deals with death and loss, but it also shows that even in heavy moments, irony and lightness can be found. 4. Chaos can be liberating. Beetlejuice is an anarchic spirit, and even as a villain, he symbolizes the importance of breaking rules sometimes and not taking life too seriously. 5. Tradition and innovation can go hand in hand. The movie respects the aesthetic and spirit of the 1988 classic while introducing new ideas and characters, proving it is possible to honor the past without being trapped by it. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 2024 had a production budget of around $100 million and grossed approximately $452 million worldwide, making it a major financial success. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 2024 received mostly positive reviews, with a 75% approval rating from critics and an 82% approval rating from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, here's our opinion.
When Beetlejuice 2 was released, I realized it was actually part of a franchise and the continuation of a classic from the 80s. So before jumping straight into the sequel, I decided to go back and watch the original film, released in 1988 and directed by Tim Burton. The first Beetlejuice introduces us to a very peculiar universe, the story of a recently deceased couple who find themselves stuck in the strange bureaucracy of the afterlife. This beyond isn't anything like we usually imagine. It's bizarre, dark, and oddly funny. I found the premise interesting, but watching it today, decades later, it doesn't have the same impact it once had. Over the years, we've already seen similar tones in works like The Addams Family and other Gothic-inspired comedies. Back in the day, though, Beetlejuice was groundbreaking and stood out precisely because of its originality. The real highlight of the film, of course, is Beetlejuice himself, played by Michael Keaton. He's grotesque, chaotic, and full of supernatural tricks. Watching him now, I couldn't help but think of The Mask, which carries a similar chaotic energy, but in a lighter, more accessible way. Personally, I prefer The Mask, but I understand why Beetlejuice was such a hit in the late 1980s. For its time, it was fresh, bold, and completely different from anything else out there. With the original out of the way, I moved on to the sequel. One of the first things that caught my attention was how they handled the technological gap of more than 30 years between films. Instead of overloading the movie with modern CGI, Tim Burton chose to keep the handmade feel of the original. Heavy makeup, practical effects, and stop motion, though updated for today's standards. That decision worked perfectly because it preserved the identity of the franchise and avoided that off feeling that might have come from relying too much on digital effects. Michael Keaton returns as Beetlejuice, and despite his age, it barely shows. The character is covered in makeup and prosthetics, so he looks just as creepy and chaotic as ever. After all, ghosts don't age, so Keaton fits right back into the role seamlessly. Another smart choice was not bringing back the ghostly couple from the first film played by Alec Baldwin and Geena Davis. Since ghosts don't grow old, having them appear with visible aging would have broken the continuity. Leaving them out avoided that issue and made room for new characters to shine. The one who really stands out here is Winona Ryder, reprising her role as Lydia Deetz. Now older and more mature, Ryder delivers a much stronger and deeper performance compared to her teenage version in the original. Watching her in this film is genuinely satisfying. And then we have Jenna Ortega, the current goth queen of Hollywood. Pairing Ortega with Ryder was a brilliant move, almost like passing the torch from one generation to the next. On top of that, it was great marketing for the movie. Honestly, I was only truly excited for this sequel because I knew Jenna Ortega was in it. She was at the peak of her popularity thanks to Wednesday. Another strong addition is Monica Bellucci, who plays the film's villain. Bellucci has always had a commanding screen presence, and here she was set up as a major threat. Unfortunately, her character doesn't quite deliver. She spends most of the film building suspense, as if something terrible will happen when she finally catches Beetlejuice. But when the confrontation arrives, it's underwhelming. Her defeat is quick, almost ridiculous, making her one of the film's most wasted opportunities. The highlight for me, without question, was the big musical scene at the end. Seeing Winona Ryder and Jenna Ortega singing and dancing together was pure fun. Ortega especially steals the moment with her intense and quirky dance moves, bringing the film to life in its final minutes. Overall, Beetlejuice 2 delivers nostalgia. It captures the essence and atmosphere of the original, but it doesn't really try to surpass it. And that's my main criticism. When you make a sequel to such an iconic film, you should take risks, try to go bigger, or at least offer something new. Instead, this movie plays it safe, relying on familiar elements and fan service. It's entertaining, yes, and visually beautiful, but it lacks boldness. Beetlejuice 2 is faithful to the spirit of the original and fun to watch, but it doesn't leave the same mark. It's good, but not unforgettable. That's all for now. Session closed. If all goes well, see you in the next video. Until then.
Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want to go home.